What is up, guys? I got a little idea video for you here. And I kind of mentioned in one of my previous videos, if you called it, that I was going to come out with a video, I guess, of my idea for how competitive matchmaking should be and how we can go about to make this game more of a esport type game where people are actually at a level playing field, and it really is kind of looking at the best team or the best person or the best clan, right? And first off, I just want to say clan wars should not be eliminated ever. We should always have those big clan wars 2 days long, and that should always really be kind of the highest level of competition, right? Because that really is the crux of the game, because you're kind of getting your village and your offense to a highest level possible, boosting your clan by getting more wins, by being better yourself, and that should always kind of be the crux of it, in my opinion. But the actual competition side isn't there. Why? Because there's always a lot of unfairness, and you never know, just the weights themselves are one thing that's unfair, but that's such an important part of the game, and really, if you ever took that away, people would be very upset. So, why do I think we need a competitive matchmaking then, if that's already here? Well, big reason is because people don't play as much at the end level. A lot of the time in-game is spent on GroupMe and things like that when you're at a higher level, and that's not all that great. Even like Town Hall 9, 10, and 11, it really is more of you're either grinding or you're getting on and doing 2 attacks a day. Or 2 attacks every other day, right, in war. That's how a lot of people play the game, so we really need something to pull us back into it that is going to make us play for 2-4 hours at a time and take our time from us without feeling so much of a grind. So, the benefits of my system rather is that you can either do it solo or as a party. And so let's think to FPSs for a second. Let's think first person shooters. When you play a first person shooter, you can play casually, you can play unranked, and you can go in by yourself and not have to worry about any competition, just have fun. You're honing your skills at the same time, but you're just having fun. And then you can also go in with a party, and you can do ranked play, and you can really push to be the highest level of competition, and that exists, where you have the absolute utmost competition in these games, and that's in the same matchmaking system. So why don't we look to their model of doing things for creating our model? So what do we need before we actually get into this? In order for it to be competitive, then there has to be some sort of standardized weights when you're going in, right? And I'll get into that later. You need to be able to train your armies in a vacuum to where you don't have to spend money and time in order to create an army, and so it doesn't become a weighting in your mind of which army is better for the cost or for the train time. It is just purely what is the best army for this base, and there has to be a ranking system that's actually based on skill, because it's really not an argument that the people who are top in the world in trophies are just the ones spending the most time in the game. It really, they're good, don't get me wrong, but it's just a time sink. So how do you want to do this competitive matchmaking? I see it being similar to an FPS, where you have certain game types, you have certain tiers, and then you actually are picking a preferred level, because unlike a FPS where everybody's going in as a Spartan or whatever, they're all essentially at the same level. You really need to have your match or your map to be equal on the opposite side. And then you would also control the party details from this screen, maybe, where you would be able to send invites, maybe specify how many people you want in the party, and then as the person who started the party, you would control what map was being searched for, or all the conditions, and then you would also be able to remove people from your party as well. Game types, this is what I want. I want a classic mode, which is just what I had an idea of, or what everybody really has an idea of a speed war. 5-on-5, 10-on-10, whatever, and it can either be an option where you pick it, or maybe do preferred, or you actually are assigned it, because having a quick match is going to be important too. No one really wants to wait a long time for a match. The next game type is Lone Wolf. So this one is kind of expected that you're going to go in alone, but it could be argued that you can go in a party and just not have it on ranking. Lone Wolf would be a competitive bracket style championship where you go in with, say, 10 guys or maybe 20 guys, and it's just you go one-on-one against somebody. The winner advances to the next round, and by winner I mean most stars, second would be percentage, third win would be time, and then if they are exact same time or something, or maybe they both just forfeited, it would just be a virtual coin flip, and that would determine who would go to the next round. The third option is time attack, and time attack is sort of sort of inspired by the modding community, to be perfectly honest, where basically what they would do when they went into a war was they were having the hardest bases they could, and it was just a how fast can you crack the base, right? And cracking was a non-sanctioned form of the game where you were attacking a base over and over and over until you beat it. So I think that should be there. And I think that people want to play that puzzle style game where they really feel like they are able to craft their finest attack possible for a base. And I think that would be cool in a game like this where, you know, everybody will be on the same level. So let's talk about the tiers. And this doesn't really matter for Lone Wolf, because Lone Wolf, it should all be, everybody should be at the same level, so tier would just be grayed out. But preferred tier is basically, in my head, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and elite. Lightweight is going to be a mix of Town Hall 8s, Town Hall 9s, and maybe one Town Hall 10. Middleweight is just Town Hall 9s and Town Hall 10s. Heavyweight is 9, 10, and 11. And Elite is just 11. Or maybe 11 and a couple 10s or something. But I think that if you have all max bases, that needs to be something for people to strive to. Second is your preferred level. So your level is, this is just in my head, we're going to have a max Town Hall 8, a low Town Hall 9, a mid Town Hall 9, a max Town Hall 9, mid 10, max 10, and max 11. The actual definitions of these are up for debate, but basically 10-10 heroes, 20-20 heroes, 30-30 heroes for Town Hall 9, 10 is 35, and then 40. Max Town Hall 11 is obviously everything maxed, and that brings me to the point of why would I want to continue pushing my base when I can just play as a Town Hall 11? And why would this encourage the growth of the game? Because you can't. You can't play as a Town Hall 11 as a Town Hall 8. As you progress through the game, you unlock the different levels you can play at, and therefore whatever levels that you've unlocked also unlocks the tiers that you can play at as well. So as you max your Town Hall 8, and maybe, you know, close to max, doesn't have to be fully done, you know, that's up for debate, whatever. You pick only max Town Hall 8 is the only level you can play at. Then as you get your heroes up to a certain point and get your base up to a certain point, you can be a mid Town Hall 9, keep going, and you're unlocking everything as you go, right? But you can still play as a max Town Hall 8 as a max Town Hall 11, and that would be fun maybe for some, but it's not going to benefit your your MMR. It's not going to benefit that as much because it's pretty agreed upon that the higher you go, the more skill is required. So if you're playing the highest on the map, you're going to get a bigger bump to your MMR and less of a risk to your MMR. Another thing I should mention, and this probably or might only matter at the beginning of this implementation, but when you're putting your preferred tier and level, you're only putting what you prefer. So if you're at Town Hall 11 and you want to do a middleweight war, you might actually be put into an elite war if you have a lot of Town Hall 11 searching or something like that. And that would of course be tweaked by Supercell to give a best fit of the quickest times and the most competitive matches. So let's think of some of the negatives or some of the things that you have to consider. First off, not breaking the rest of the game, not breaking the current state of the game. And that is that most people spend their time in the game trying to build up their base, and that obviously is still needed because as you do that, you're going to unlock new levels and be able to play at new tiers, and maybe you can unlock new game types, but I think those should all just already be there. The second is that I don't know if it needs it, but it would be nice to have. If you go in to play a 20-person Lone Wolf war and you have 20 people in your party, you're able to play an arranged war essentially against your own party, right? And this would be great, great, great for streaming. But that brings me to my other thing we have to watch is not breaking war. Like I mentioned, war still needs to be the highest level of the game because that's what you're really working on, and that is much more of building up your base for a reason. So that still needs to be there. And if you're able to go in and battle against your own team, then there's a chance, and a very real chance, and you'd have to consider it somehow, that you could just build your opponent's war base and practice on it there, which is not at all what needs to be done. So I think you need to have all your bases built in your, so like, you know, now you have basically 3 bases in your arsenal. I think if you do that for each level of war, and that would be a little bit of an upfront work, and maybe they could pre-populate the bases there, and then you would change them, and that would make it a little easier to for some of the players who don't want to spend the time building up a bunch of different bases to have that. And then if you do a non-ranked match at all, and I say non-ranked, it could just be if you're a party-on-party match, but if you do a non-ranked match, then you can't change that for that war. So it wouldn't let you build a war or a base that's in your war and then practice on it. You'd have to have it already historically in your war base or something like that, or war arsenal, whatever you want to call it. So let's think about rewards. And this is obviously up for debate entirely, but the way I see it, lower level in matchmaking is a lower return, first off, and then non-ranked is a lower return. So the way I either see that happening is that if it's non-ranked, it's only a gold reward, or maybe an elixir reward, but I think a gold reward is more is better. And then if it's ranked play, it could be a gem reward, and that might not be worth it, or maybe it's just 1 or 2 gems or something, and that's fine, just to give another aspect to the game and feel like people would want to play it and want to progress, because the higher you progress in your tier and the higher you progress in your level, the more the reward. So maybe just at a matchmaking level of 50 or higher is when the gems start coming out, but I do think gems need to be there at some level to make people really want to play, and balancing would require it, so they don't break their economy, because frankly you have less people playing with this, and that would potentially affect the normal multiplayer economy, which is of course going to have to be balanced anyway. But I do see this being fairly easy to implement beyond the initial coding, because the infrastructure already exists, right? So many other games have this model, have shown how it works, and show that it can be rather easy to have a competitive matchmaking that can also be done non-ranked and could be done for a custom game, I guess, a party-on-party game, and the only thing we really have to worry is breaking the other parts of the game. This is what I want to see from the game. This is what I think will keep the game from being stale for people, as people are constantly dropping out of the game to pull people back in. Because as much as a new troop and new levels benefit a game, no one's going to come back to the game for that. They're going to come back when new content is released and there's a new way to play the game. And in my opinion, this is the best form of a new game that we can have, where there's a lot of options to where you can use the AI that already exists in the game to have more fun. And you can it opens up a huge world, right, to streamer wars and things like that, the more fun custom games that you would see on Twitch and things, and also the esports that could potentially come from that. Plus, it gives a new tier of the highest skill getting recognition via the matchmaking ranking, and it would give a huge benefit to those who play the game a lot without giving such a huge benefit that you have to be on 24/7 in order to be the best. To me, this is something the game has needed for a long time, but please let me know in the comments if you disagree with any single thing that I said, if that I'm not thinking about something right, there's another aspect that I'm missing, or just let me know what you would do instead to make Clash great again, because I do think that the AI is there, the community is there, and this game can last a very long time if they treat it right. But please, of course, make sure to do the whole like, subscribe thingy if you do like war content, war recaps, etc. And as always, thank you for watching the video. Y'all take care. Peace.